Hello and welcome to my second Infinity N4 battle report. We were playing the direct action scenario Battleground at 150 points between my Tunguska versus my opponent's military orders. I plan on doing battle reports for all direct action scenarios at 150 points. I've also taken a few ITS-14 scenarios that I like playing and have converted them into a direct action style by removing the classified objectives and other bonuses. I did this because my opponent and I do not have all the models and we have around 150 points in miniatures. For us, it is good to learn the N4 rules at this size before increasing the army size to 200 to 250 points and beyond. I'll have about approximately 10 battle reports to create at 150 point size in the direct action style. Then eventually we'll increase the army size to 200 and so forth, and possibly look at even including classified scenarios. Okay, so for the scenario Battleground, the objectives at the end of the game are to dominate your nearest zone of operation for 1 objective point, dominate the middle zone of operations for 3 objective points, dominate the farthest zone of operation for 4 points, and to kill the enemy key ops for 2 objective points. Now obviously when you dominate a zone, you have to have more army points within that zone compared to your opponent. And obviously the kill the enemy key ops is quite easy to understand. Now for this scenario, there's a key ops special rule, and the miniature that is identified as a key ops gains dodge +3 to their rolls and the tactical awareness order, so it become quite useful during the game. So this is the game table at 150 points. As you can see, I've outlined the zones for the 24-inch by 32-inch game table for our point size, and I've just made it so if you deploy it on the left side of the table, you can see in the yellow there the near, center and far zones and the respective points, and for the opponent deployed on the right side, again you'll see it recreated the near, center and far with the correct objective points. So this is my army list. I've decided to build lists only using the miniatures that I have. There are some proxies evolved that will be used from the Crimson Stone set, but eventually I'll hopefully get the miniatures in the future. So basically I've decided, instead of just creating new lists every time I play a game, I'll just stick to a couple of lists and just really try and understand the mechanics of the trooper profiles and the sectorial rules such as fire teams. So in my list I have Securitat with a repeater and boarding shotgun. I want to be able to try and utilize the hacking ability of Tunguska, because Tunguska is often described as very good at shooting and hacking, so I want to try and utilize hacking more. So I want to use this repeater to help extend the hacking network. The other Securitat has a Fuhrerbuck, and I want to understand using this as an ARO piece of a heavy weapon, because unlike other light infantry units that sectorials have, they have a missile launcher or rocket launcher of some description. Securitat don't, they just have the HMG and the Fuhrerbuck. And of course I have Yelena Kovac with her special abilities to try and use her as a camo token skirmisher hunter for the enemy opponents in the midfield. I've included the Puppet Master Hacker because it's the cheapest one there is for this size, and it's better than the Securitat Hacker by having BTS 3 and a lot less, I think a couple of less points in cost. The Heckler, because I've always wanted to try and use the Heckler and understand if it can make my game plan a bit more easier to manage in the midfield, and this is the cheapest option available. And the boarding shotgun, being on a small table, is the preferred weapon of choice, because direct template weapons are quite powerful in small confined spaces. And I had the Kriza Borak Lieutenant option with a HMG, and obviously because of this point size for the Lieutenant, I was limited to how many other troops I could take. and I just wanted to try out this idea that because the Securitat have a veteran, same with Yelena Kovac, she has a veteran skill, that if I did losing my lieutenant, I'm not significantly disadvantaged in a way, because I'll still have 3 regular orders able to perform normally, and then just use command tokens to flip the irregular orders resulting from loss of lieutenant, and to help continue being in the game and not be so disadvantaged. So that's my list for this battle report. Now here's my opponent's list that I recreated from what they had on the table, and as you can see there's 3 Trinitarians, and these end up becoming quite a nuisance in the midfield of the game. Now we'll get into the game. So we both roll off for initiative using our lieutenant's whip. My opponent wins and chooses initiative and goes first. I keep deployment and deploy on the left side and deploy second. My opponent's deployment zone and their key ops is a Teutonic Knight with boarding shotgun. And as you can see in the midfield, they have the 3 Trinitarians doing what they do best. My deployment zone, so for this my key ops is a Cruiser Borak. Now my battle plan was to hold until the last turn and rush forward and claim territory. I planned on using the Cruiser Borak to at least claim the middle zone of operation, hence why I gave him the key ops role, and to use his lieutenant order and tactical awareness order to push him up in the midfield at the end. So one thing to note for this mission, I did not deploy any fire teams. I wanted to experiment using the sectorial without fire teams and use them just in a regular manner. And I was just testing out the Führerbach as an ARO piece, and I wanted to test the Heckler and learn how to use him effectively in a forward deployed position, and to try and gain advantage of the midfield. So round 1. So my opponent activates their Impetuous Order. So they spend their Impetuous Order and activate their Teutonic Knight with Spitfire. And their first half of the attack is to attack the Cruiser Borak. I declare dodge for my Cruiser Borak, and the second half they declare move, and they move forward to that position. The outcome is the Cruiser Borak passes its dodge roll and goes prone. Opponent spends their second Impetuous Order and they activate the Teutonic Knight with a light shotgun. Their first half of the order is to move, and they move into silhouette contact with the cover of the shield that's in front of them. I have no ARO, so no lines of fire, and the second half my opponent just declares idle. The outcome is they successfully move into cover behind the wall. They spend the Lieutenant Order and activate their Teutonic Knight with Spitfire because he has the NCO skill, and they declare BS attack against Yelena Kovac down here. I declare dodge because I'm definitely outclassed and outgunned, and their second half is to declare move, and they just decide to go prone. The outcome is Yelena Kovac loses 1 wound and enters unconscious state. They spend their regular order and activate the Mulebot, and they declare move and move out around the wall and move towards the blue building in the center. I managed to get an ARO with my Securitat with Führerbach, and there's a little gap there where I can actually make out the silhouette of the Mulebot. And the second half, my opponent declares dodge for the Mulebot. And the outcome is the Mulebot passes its dodge and moves 2 inches into contact with the blue building. Spend another regular order and they activate the Mulebot again. And they move halfway up the stairs of the blue building. I have no line of fire, so no ARO. And second half they move to the top of the stairs of the blue building. I get an ARO because now they become in line of fire, and that's my camo token up here. Actually, he gets to see that. And I choose to not have an ARO because I'd rather keep him in camo state and use him for later. So the outcome is that the Mulebot ends up on the roof of the blue building. Spending another regular order, they activate their camo token on the right side. They declare move and move up to the first step on the red building on the right. I do get an ARO for the camo token, and I choose to delay, and my Securitat with the Führerbuck chooses to discover. The second half, my opponent moves up the top of the red stairs. The outcome is that the discover is successful and the Trinitarian with a boarding shotgun is revealed. Spending another regular order to activate the Trinitarian, and they move forwards to the corner of the red building. For my camo token, I choose to not react, I'd rather remain hidden. And my Securitate with the Führerbuck declares BS attack using their pistol, as it's much better range. And the Puppet Master is my hacker, declares Spotlight. And the second half of my opponent's order, they declare BS attack against the Securitate with the Führerbuck. So the outcome of this order is Securitate loses 1 wound and enters unconscious, and the Trinitarian is in targeted state. Another regular order to activate the Mulebot again. And the first half they declare move and go prone and move 2 inches into the corner of the blue building. My only ARO is I use the Puppet Master to Oblivion the Mulebot, and that's using the repeater on the other Securitate on the left side, this one here. And the second half the Mulebot declares reset, and the outcome is the Puppet Master fails to Oblivion and the Mulebot passes his reset. My round 1. Using my first regular order, I activate my camo token in the midfield, and I move up to 4 inches to the base of the stairs of the red building. My opponent decides to delay ARO with a camo token on the blue building. There's a camo token up here on the top of the stairs. And for my second half, I move into contact behind the wall on the right side of the blue building. And no further AROs declared. Spending another regular order, I activate the camo token again. And it's an entire order attack, and I choose to use initiative attack using the Emarat against the Teutonic Knight with light shotgun. And the trauma dock falls under the large teardrop template as well. AROs, the trauma dock and the Teutonic Knight declared dodge. Now the outcome of this is a camo token fails its intuitive attack and reveals itself as my heckler. And the Teutonic Knight passes dodge and the trauma dock fails the dodge roll. Now I was a bit skeptical about using intuitive attack, I wasn't quite aware of how it works, so after this order I was reading the rules again and I realised that I actually made a mistake. I can't use it targeting opponent targets outside line of fire but within zone of control because they're behind total cover. So technically I cannot perform this order. What it means is I can either shoot at camo tokens without discovering, or I can shoot through zero visibility zones. So thankfully the outcome was negative, nothing really resulted that affected the game, but it was just a learning point to note not to do it again. Spending another regular order, I activate my heckler, and I move around to the right side of the cover and back in the middle, and then dodge is declared from the Teutonic Knight and the trauma dock, and I decide to take out the trauma dock with a BS attack for my second half. And the outcome is both the Teutonic Knight and trauma dock pass their dodge rolls. I spend the tactical awareness order on my cruiser Borak, and I get him to, the first order is to move, and I just stand up essentially. The Trinitarian declares dodge, and for my second half I declare BS attack with my HMG towards the Trinitarian, the one on the red building. The outcome is the cruiser Borak misses all shots and the Trinitarian passes dodge and goes prone. I spend my last regular order and activate my heckler again, and I declare move and move behind the blue building. No AROs are generated from my opponent, and for the second half I just declare idle. So the outcome is that the heckler has moved into a more defensive position, covering the right side of the midfield. Round 2. So my opponent spends their Impetuous Order and activate their Teutonic Knight with Light Shotgun. And they move out from behind cover and towards the blue building in the center of the table. My Heckler, I choose to declare Dodge, and the second half they move into silhouette contact with the blue building, and the outcome is the Heckler fouls the Dodge. Second Impetuous Order is spent on the Teutonic Knight with Spitfire. For the first half they declare move and cancel the prone state and stand up. My Cruiser Borak declares Dodge, and opponent's second half declares a BS attack against my Cruiser Borak. So the outcome is the Cruiser Borak takes 1 wound, and I choose to fail the guts roll and I'll move 2 inches to the left to gain total cover. Regular order, my opponent activates the Trinitarian. For the first half they declare move and cancel the prone state and stand up. I did get a arrow from my Heckler and I declare BS attack with a boarding shotgun in blast mode, so using the template. And for my Cruiser Borak, I can declare BS attack with the HMG. Opponent's second half of the order, they declare BS attack against the Heckler using their boarding shotgun in blast mode. The outcome is the Cruiser Borak scores a critical, Heckler enters the dead state and is removed from the game table, and the Trinitarian enters unconscious state. Spending another regular order, they activate the camo token on the left side of the midfield. No arrows from me, and they declare place deployable. Oh, sorry. They first declare move and move towards the base of the stairs of the building in my deployment zone. I have no arrows, and then they declare place deployable. And the outcome is the camo token is successfully placed to prevent me from moving towards the left side. Spending another regular order, activate the same camo token again. This time they move onto the stairs up to the second stair, then move off behind the building on my opponent's side. I still have no arrows. And the second half they place a deployable on the first step of the stairs. And so the outcome is there's another mine on my left side. Activate regular order again, they spend a regular order and activate the trauma dock. And then he moves out of cover and towards the blue building in the center of the table. I have no line of fire, so no arrows. Second half they move again and end up touching the building and end up moving into total cover behind the barrier on the right side of the blue building. And the outcome is my opponent is moving their army forward into the midfield. Spending another regular order, they activate the Teutonic Knight with Spitfire. It's an entire order skill, so they enter the suppressive fire state. I have no arrows, and this just means that the Teutonic Knight can now declare arrows with 3 bursts in my active turn. Spending the last regular order, they activate the trauma dock again. Just sort of a bit of moving around into better cover in preparation for what I might be doing. And I'll get no arrow because of no line of fire. And then they just declare move and just go prone. And basically the trauma dock is covering out to the right side around this here area. So if I was decided to move up, they could engage here. Okay, my round 2. So I spend the tactical awareness order and I activate my Cruiser Borak. I declare move in my first half of the order, and I move just down to here. The Teutonic Knight in suppressive fire declares arrow, and then in return I declare BS attack with my HMG. So the outcome, the Teutonic Knight enters the dead state and is removed from the game table. Spending my Lieutenant order, I activate the Cruiser Borak, and I declare move. I move up to here, both mines explode in the ARO, and second half I declare dodge. So the outcome is that I pass the dodge roll and I move 2 inches in front of the small building in my deployment zone. Spending a regular order, activate the Cryzoborik again. I declare move for my first half. The camo token that's on the left here, behind the building that you can't see, chooses to place a deployable for the arrow. And the second half of my order, I move up to the corner of the blue building. And because I entered the zone of control of the Teutonic Knight and the Trauma Dock, they get an ARO and declare dodge. And the outcome is the camo token laser deployable behind the building. I move my cruiser into the midfield to dominate the center zone, and the Teutonic Knight fails the dodge, and the Trauma Dock passes the dodge and moves 1 inch to the left of where they currently are. So before they were just here prone, but now they just move an inch because they're prone. Spinning another regular order, activate the Cryzoborik again. And I move to the base at the stairs of the red building. The camo token on top of the blue building declares BS attack with the boarding shotgun and blast mode. And the Teutonic Knight and Trauma Dock declare dodge. And for my second half, I declare BS attack with the heavy pistol with the camo token on the roof. So the outcome of this is that both Teutonic Knight and Trauma Dock pass their dodge rolls and they move around further away from the Cryzoborik. The Trinitarian enters the dead state and is removed from the game table, and the Cryzoborik enters unconscious state. Spending my last regular order, I activate the Securitate with Repeater. And remaining prone, I move forward. The Teutonic Knight, which ends up having to be down this side of the building, ends up declaring dodge. And then I declare move again and move into the corner. So the outcome is the Teutonic Knight passes the dodge roll and moves away from the repeater range, and I move my Securitate into the corner and dominate the nearest zone, and I push forward my repeater network. Round 3. My opponent spends a regular order and activates the Trauma Dock and declares move and stands up and moves along the right side of the wall. I have nil arrows, and second half they move towards the red building. Outcome is they're advancing towards and into the midfield. Spending another regular order, activate the Trauma Dock and declare move and move up to the far right corner of the red building. Nil ARO. And second half, declare move and move to the near right corner of the red building. So just not as open as that, but behind that corner there. Here I get an ARO, and Puppet Master declares Spotlight because the Trauma Dock is now within the zone of control. And the outcome, Puppet Master fails to Spotlight. Spending another regular order, they activate the Trauma Dock again. He spends an entire order and climbs up the red building. I declare nil ARO, and the outcome is the Trauma Dock is on top of the building near the Trinitarian that is unconscious. Spending the last regular order, activate the Trauma Dock again, and declares move and moves into silhouette contact with the unconscious Trinitarian. I declare Spotlight with the ARO. Puppet Master declares Spotlight for an ARO against the Trauma Doctor. And the Trauma Dock uses the Doctor skill in the second half to heal the Trinitarian. So the outcome of this, the Puppet Master fails the Spotlight, the Trauma Dock fails to heal, so the Trinitarian takes another wound and enters the dead state and is removed from the game table. So for my final turn, I'll begin this round in Loss of Lieutenant and Retreat state. So I have one regular order from my Securitate, which has a veteran skill, and one irregular order from my Puppet Master. My Securitate as vet is not affected by the Retreat state and Loss of Lieutenant, So what I do is I spend 1 command token to cancel the retreat state on my Puppet Master, and I spend another command token to convert the irregular order into a regular order. So spending a regular order, I activate my Puppet Master, and I declare move and move to the left side of the hollow board. The trauma dock declares dodge for the arrow, and I declare BS attack against the trauma dock using the submachine gun. And the outcome is the trauma dock enters the dead state and is removed from the game table. Spending the last regular order, activate the Puppet Master again, and I move towards the red building. No arrows from my opponent, and for the second half I declare move and move to the right side of the red building. And outcome is I move into the nearest sector for objective points. Okay, so that's the end of the game. This is a final top-down perspective of the game table and who's in what quadrant. So I have both the Securitat and the Puppet Master dominating my near zone. So my Puppet Master's down here, and Securitat, I know it looks a bit awkward from the angle here, but it's actually in, most of its base is in this near quadrant. And our army points are greater than the opponent's remaining Trinitarian. And my opponent dominates the center zone with their baggage bot, and they get an extra, I think, 20 points. Because my Kriza Borak is unconscious, so it doesn't count. So they dominate the center zone, and the Teutonic Knight with shotgun, which happens to be the lieutenant, dominates the near zone. Okay, so now we'll just go into the after action review of the battle. So these are the results of the game. As you can see, we both scored 1 objective point for dominating our near zone. My opponent scores 3 for dominating the center, and they get another 2 for killing my key ops. So the total score is 1-6 with military orders winning, and remaining army points I had 33 points and my opponent has 50. So that was a win to military orders. So, lessons learned for sustain. I thought I deployed appropriately to the terrain on the game table. My hacking network covered both the left and right sides, and I plan on improving my hacking game. This was because the Securitat with the repeaters on the left and my Puppet Master on the right. I deployed the Securitat with the Fuhrbuck in the middle to cover any moves from the right or the left. It's just unfortunate that he died early on. For fixes, I should have used the Heckler more conservatively, and I think I overextended too far. And I also read the rules incorrectly for intuitive attack weapons, and I should have tried to use the Emirat on the camo token on top of the blue building, and perhaps climb up the building and to get a line of fire onto the mule bot and use it to immobilize and isolate that. And going through again, I probably overextended using the Kriza Borak as well. Instead of pushing him up and getting him in a position to be killed, I probably could have held him back at the base of the blue building and dominated the center zone. For threat, again, mines, they for 150 point game table, a well placed mine can dominate a large area. And the mines forced me into changing my battle plan and move the Kriza Borak to the right side. Sure, I was lucky enough to take the hit from the 2 mines, but I did not know that I would. And in hindsight, knowing if I was that lucky, I could have still moved the Kriza Borak to the left and dealt with the camo token Trinitarian and the Teutonic Knight with the shotgun. And I was thinking about going down the left, because once I'd removed that Spitfire, I thought, yep, the left is open. However, the mines there dominated and prevented it from happening and forced me to change my game plan, which ended up resulting in me going right and having the game that we played. Okay, so this is the end of my battle report. Please let me know what you think I did correctly or incorrectly in the comments, or even just provide any observational thoughts that you may have about the game. I hope you enjoyed this battle rep. Thank you for watching, and I'll see you later.